Well, it seems like forever ago, but last week, President Trump signed an executive order, as you may recall, to increase regulation on social media platforms. Here's the president explaining his order.
My executive order calls for new regulations under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to make it that social media companies that engage in censoring or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield.
The order puts the Federal Communications Commission, which is commonly referred to as the FCC, in charge with coming up with those regulations. But the president, ironically, is getting pushback from obvious places. The Democratic Commissioner, Jessica Rosenwald, released the following statement. She said, "This does not work. Social media can be frustrating, but an executive order that would turn the Federal Communications Commission into the president's speech police is not the answer." Meanwhile, and this is interesting, a Republican member of the commission, Mike O'Reilly, tweeted this before the order was even signed. He said, quote, "As a conservative, I'm troubled. Voices are stifled by liberal tech leaders. At the same time, I'm extremely dedicated to the First Amendment, which governs much here." So will coming up with the rules to implement the president's order prove to be a difficult task? Joining us now is one of the members of that 5-person FCC panel, Commissioner Brendan Carr. Commissioner, welcome.
Good to join you. Thanks.
So here's what I think this is getting lost in. This idea of the First Amendment, right? All these other people, the Washington Post, the New York Times, all these other media outlets don't have these protections. Why is Twitter and other places somehow given more protection than media outlets themselves?
It's a great question. And a lot of people are responding to this executive order by collapsing, I think in some cases intentionally so, the First Amendment with Section 230. Look, everybody has free speech rights. Everybody's protected by the First Amendment, from Jack Dorsey to private platforms themselves. But Section 230 is about statutory rights above and beyond the First Amendment. There is no First Amendment right to Section 230 protection. So we can take a look at 230 without implicating the First Amendment, contrary to some of the fear-mongering you see out there.
Brendan, I want to show you Twitter's response. You're probably aware of it, but I want to show our viewers what they said in response to the president's executive order. They said, "This EO, executive order, is reactionary and politicized approach to a landmark law, hashtag Section 230, protects American innovation and freedom of expression, and it's underpinned by democratic values. Attempts to unilaterally erode it threaten the future of online speech and internet freedoms." You kind of mentioned this before, but there's a lot of concern out there that if this is lifted, that all of a sudden these platforms might start unleashing and cracking down on the everyday person. Is that a concern at all?
I don't think so. Look, it's funny that Twitter calls this a reactionary, politicized executive order, because no one other than Vice President Joe Biden has said that Section 230 must be revoked immediately. And I don't remember the same type of outrage. We're kind of in a political atmosphere where a lot of people's North Star for policy and legal analysis is orange man bad. And if Trump is for it, they're against it. Some of these very same groups, if you remember, they were also pushing Title II style net neutrality. And they said if the FCC revoked those rules, you'd get the internet one word at a time. It'd be the end of the internet. So I think these Section 230 truthers have a lot in common with those net neutrality fearmongers.
Commissioner, the thing that's so interesting to me is that when they got these protections, the idea was we have a platform. Anyone can post what they want. We're neutral. They have now shown, definitely in the last couple of months, they are no longer neutral. I think that's fine. Everyone in America, to your point, you said this earlier, has a right to free speech, but they can't keep pretending they're neutral. And that's the nut of this.
That's one of the important keys here, Sean. You don't get to have it both ways. They've gone to Congress and repeatedly say, look, for all of the discrimination that we do not engage in a systematic shutdown of conservative political speech. Well, if in fact that's what you're engaged in, that's not about your First Amendment rights or your free speech. That's like treating you and holding you accountable the way we do every other business. And when they start slapping these quote unquote fact checks on the president's tweet that on its face, it doesn't have any application to the president's tweet. They talk about the glorification of violence policy. That doesn't look like it lines up. And I think there's a lot of questions when you look at Jack Dorsey. He favorably tweeted out an article that said bipartisanship is over. Democrats must win. Republicans must be thoroughly defeated. And it looks like he is now weaponizing his platform to go after the president and other people he doesn't like.
That's true. Well, we're going to sit down with the president and talk to him about all of this. You gave us a lot to think about. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thanks.
All right. Well, just to be clear, we did reach out and invite these social media companies to appear on the show to give their point of view. Twitter turned down the opportunity, while Facebook has not responded to our request. And we're hoping to have a representative from Google, which owns YouTube, join us sometime this week, fingers crossed. In the meantime, the company did send us a statement that said, quote, "Our products are built for everyone, and we design them with extraordinary care to be a trustworthy source of information for everyone without regard to political point of view." That doesn't seem to be the case with the other social media platforms. But as I mentioned, tomorrow we'll be speaking to the president about a variety of topics, including this very fight that he's been having with social media and censorship. We'll set the scene next.